Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining us for another episode of Here Before, Here Now. I do want to start off by saying Happy New Year. It's been a few weeks since I came out with an episode, so I am very excited to get back into it, and I've got a couple of people lined up that I'm really excited to talk to and help share their stories with you. And right now, obviously, as we begin this new year, a lot of people make resolutions, right, to do something when it comes to maybe fitness or maybe their health and wellness. I am in that camp. I think I do that every single year where I'm going to make better decisions to eat a little better, also to continue to be physically active. Last year, I made the resolution to do an Ironman. For those of you who have followed me on social media and watched the newscast, I actually completed that several weeks ago in November in Tempe. And I got to tell you, it was one of the most hardest things that I have ever done. The training that goes into it was intense for the 2.4 mile swim, the 112 mile bike ride, and the 26.2 mile run at the end. I will say towards the end of it, I felt like, oh my gosh, this is never going to end. And when I did the first loop of the marathon portion of the race, I thought I can't do this anymore. I still have to do 13.1 more miles, but I did. And that was incredible. So I did it just over 15 hours and 43 minutes. And it was an incredible experience. It was really cool. It was really great. I remember when I signed up for it, I didn't know how to swim. So, I did know how to swim. Like, I can go into a pool and I can wade around, do some laps and all that. But I didn't know how to swim with proper form. I still probably don't know how to swim with proper form. But with several months of training and a lot of YouTube videos, I was able to get the job done. So I am excited today to talk to Hosava Kretzmann, who is Hopi and Navajo, and he is also an athlete. And hopefully he can give me some good tips because this guy, he became the first American to finish the LA Marathon last year. Get this, guys. He did 26.2 miles in 2 hours, 19 minutes, and 55 seconds. And he's got Olympic dreams on the mind. So we're going to speak with him. Hopefully he can give me some tips and you other runners out there and also get to know him. Hosava, thank you so much for joining me. Congratulations on that feat. That's pretty amazing. How are you today?
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Yate Bene Loloma. Good to see everyone. Good to hear everyone. Yeah, thank you for having me here. Yeah, doing great. It's Friday, which is like the holiday of the week, so it's nice to look forward to the weekend.
Absolutely. I see on your, for those of us who are watching us on YouTube, or for those of us who are listening and can't see, Hosava, you have a hat on that says Run Flagstaff. What is that? Is that a group you're part of?
Yeah, it's a club that meets every Tuesday here up in Flagstaff. They do a track workout, and it's all abilities that show up, all age groups as well. It's really a nice time to have kind of the camaraderie of running all together, doing a workout. And it's a really great environment to be in. Everyone's really supportive, everyone's really encouraging, and you see all age groups out there. So there's like 60-year-olds out there that are doing the same workout that I am. So it's really neat to see that and be a part of that. And it's also a local store here too as well, that they sell shoes, they sell running apparel. It's a really great store, and I'm just fortunate enough that they took me on as an athlete, an elite sponsored athlete, and so they helped me quite a bit with just getting running shoes, and that's kind of the big part with them.
Awesome. So you're Hopi and Navajo,
Mm-hmm.
and you are also a runner, obviously, as we've talked about. Tell me about your background and how it's part of how it shaped you to become the runner that you are today.
Yeah, so I mean, it really goes back to kind of our cultural teachings and why we run and why we, wake up in the morning and greet the sun and say our prayers, not only for our family, but for the world as a whole. It's really a reflection of also just the endurance we have and resilience we have as people, that our lives and our upbringing it's not an easy path, and nothing about our life has ever been easy. So running really fits into that because running is not only mentally tough, but it's tough physically, it's tough spiritually. So it's really, it kind of gives me an opportunity to reach back to my cultural roots in that regard. And also it just gives me an opportunity to be outside, to be, in the environment, to really not take this world for granted at all, with the trees, with the wildlife that's in the northern Arizona region. It's really beneficial in that way and has helped me too, just on the resilience aspect of not giving up, and having the perseverance to keep going, even though whether it be school, work, life, or running specifically, you have to, you're not always going to succeed. And part of that is realizing that you just can't give up in any circumstance with whatever you're faced with. And so that's kind of a big part of why I run. And in Hopi, there's a word for it that's Nahomvita. And Nahomvita kind of incorporates just not giving up, to keep pushing and to always keep moving forward.
When you were growing up, so you're Hopi and Navajo, but you grew up on the Hopi reservation, right? Tell me how that was and how that influenced you to take this track.
Yeah, so I mean, one of my biggest role models, and I'm wearing a T-shirt of Louis Tawanama. That's kind of been a big role model of mine since I was young. And Louis Tawanama is a hero to Hopi, to a lot of Hopi youth and a lot of Hopi runners, because Louis Tawanama, he qualified for the Olympics. Well, he ran in the Olympics, I think around. I'm forgetting the dates now, but he won the silver medal in the 10K for the Olympics, and it wasn't his record. His time wasn't broken until the 60s when Billy Mills ran the 10K
Mm-hmm.
and got gold in the 10K. So I mean, it's an amazing to see that history unfold, and it's amazing to be part of that. And so my village is on Third Mesa. It's Hopevilla, and so growing up there, I mean, it's just a really diverse and really arid climate. The environment there is it's incredible to think that that environment, formed such an incredible athlete, Louis Tawanama himself. And so, a big part of why I run too is just that community aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's also what fueled Louis Tawanama's, path in running. And so, running is just, it's so important in my community that, there's runs that are hosted all the time out on the out on the Hopi reservation. A lot of our ceremonies, include running. And so it's really important to really showcase that and to incorporate that into my daily training as well, because I never forget about the cultural aspect of why I run. And that's what really fuels me and my community as well, because we're such an underrepresented community as a whole in terms of, not seeing a whole lot of Native people and, in media, in dancing or art, or these bigger platforms, and athletics fits in that as well. You just don't see a whole lot of Native sponsored athletes anymore. So, it's just incredible that I've kind of used all of that to fuel me to get me to where I am now. And, I don't take that for granted at all. I've just worked really hard for it. And I've never thought that I'd be in this position now where, I'm able to run races professionally and run these races with some of the top runners in the world. So it's really just comes back full circle. So hopefully I can encourage, the next generation of Native runners to, get to the point where I am, and hopefully further. Yeah, it's just been incredible.
That is so awesome. How old were you when you started to run? Was it something that you always did, or was there something that just kind of like clicked and you started to take this a little bit more seriously?
Yeah, so I think I've always started running. I think ever since I could walk, I could run. It's hard for me to pinpoint an exact time in my life where I started running officially, but I would say my competitive running didn't start until maybe middle school, going into high school. And I just never really thought about running competitively, especially on a team, where you get that community aspect and that camaraderie. So it wasn't until high school where I was exposed to cross country running and realized that, wow, this is kind of like the sport for me because I enjoy running. But not only that, but I love encouraging others. I love helping others. And I'm just so glad that I was able to keep that up and keep that passion going up until college, which is where I ran at Fort Lewis College. And they have their D2 or Division two cross country team. And so I was just fortunate that the coach reached out to me there, and I was able to get picked up by them and receive an athletic scholarship and run for Fort Lewis.
Wow, that is so cool. What does your training look like? How often are you running a week, and like how do you feel your workouts in terms of diet and all that?
Yeah, so I run typically anywhere between 90 to 100 miles a week.
Wait, 90 to
This,
100 miles a week.
yeah.
Wow, that's nuts.
Yeah, I would run more if I didn't have school and work in the way, but I'm only my time is so limited that I can only get in, 90 to 100 pretty evenly. So I'll typically run in the morning, around 5 or 6 a.m. and then go to work. And then after work, I go for a second run. And so typically I'm averaging maybe 15 to 20 miles every day. And I usually take a day off in the week, but sometimes I don't, just depending on if I need it or not. And yeah, the fueling aspect is tough. I mean,
Right.
yeah, there's a lot of days where, I could be burning upwards to like 4,000 calories in a day. So I really need to make sure I'm on top of that. So I'm eating constantly. And, I'm thankful too that, I'm sponsored by Hammer Nutrition, which they offer a lot of, protein supplements, a lot of electrolyte supplements, and that's kind of what I need to help me get through some of the hardest training sessions in a week is to, just have something to drink that has calories, protein, carbohydrates in it, just to keep me going for until my next meal.
Right. I remember the last aspect of the Ironman that I did when I was running, and every so often they would offer tables with snacks, and
Oh,
I've never downed so many Cokes in one night just to keep
yeah.
my body fueled. So I can imagine how challenging and maybe even stressful it is to continue to get as many calories as you need a day to continue and keep up with your training.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about sometimes. I know my wife, she'll always say to me like, you can eat for like a family of three, And
Right.
that's kind of how it is, I try and that's the main thing when what comes to I guess any athlete, any sport is you need to have your nutrition dialed in. So I have it dialed in pretty well. I just kind of eat whatever I can, a lot of vegetables, a lot of fruits and protein. But yeah, some days it's really tough to get in all the calories that I need.
Okay, so 15, 20 miles a day. Are there ever days where you're just like, "Ah, I am not feeling it. That's a lot," and you skip it?
There's some days that I do have to skip it just because I get home and after working 8 to 10 hours, I'm like totally exhausted. It's hard for me to even think about the next run or it's hard for me to even have the mental capacity to even consider, oh, I have when I as soon as I get home I have to run another 10 miles or another 10 to 12 miles. So yeah, there's days where I have to just skip it. I just have to because my body needs to rest and
Hmm.
recover. And that's a lot of, I think a lot of, it's easy to skip that. It's easy to just, always keep going and just hammer and just, just not take the break that you need because your body does need to recover and your mind needs to recover as well. And so I do have those days where I do need to just not run, and that's completely fine because I know that's going to help me the next day. And I can get the work done that I need the next day if I just take today to recover and relax. And sometimes I need that, just to sit down on the couch with my wife and my dog and just, hang out with them.
Well, I guess the cool thing about what you can do is you can finish 12 miles in 1 hour, whereas it'll take me almost 2 hours. So you got that going for you, though, right?
Yeah, it helps. It helps definitely. But I mean, at least you're still out there and doing it and getting the work done. I mean, that's still incredible to me. If anyone, regardless if they're running or walking, it's just incredible that, you have the fortitude to do that, to run for 2 hours. I mean, that's not easy for anyone.
Right. So you were the first American to finish the 2023 LA Marathon. Being from your background of being Hopi and Navajo, I'm sure you're probably one of only a few out there, especially since we're talking about how Native communities are so underrepresented in so many different areas. What was it like to represent your community out there, not only being the first American, but the first Native American to finish?
It was incredible. It meant so much to me. It meant so much to my family as well, and just my clan family, my village, just knowing that, I didn't grow up with the resources that I needed. I grew up wearing my brother's old shoes, old running shoes. So to me, it's just incredible that I've made it this far. It's incredible that you don't need a whole lot to succeed in life. You just really need to not give up. You just need to stay focused and to have the confidence in yourself to keep going and not listen to the people that tell you that you can't do something. That anytime someone said that to me, that would just fuel me up to keep going because I wanted to prove to them that I could do it. And so to all the Native youth out there, they can do it as well because it doesn't take a whole lot to just, you know, to have that focus, to be dedicated in that way. I mean, it does take a lot to be that dedicated, but at the same time, like anyone can do it. That's what I always try and say to, Native youth is that they can do it as well. They just need to focus and be dedicated. But yeah, it did mean a lot to me because um, I just didn't think that was going to happen. And I didn't think it was going to happen to someone like me either. You always want hope that something great will happen to you. Um, but that necessarily wasn't the focus for me on that day. That day was mainly to try and qualify for the trials. And I was only, about 2 minutes away from qualifying for the trials. And that was my first marathon as well.
Wow.
So really my coach and I went into it with just the idea of let's just run it and see how you feel. And just, don't drop out. That
Yeah.
was kind of the two goals is just run it, feel good, don't drop out. Um, and so yeah, it was just incredible that that happened because that wasn't even my goal to try and get top 10, top 15. It was just to run the race and try and qualify for the trials. Those were my two main goals.
So after that race day, did things kind of turn around for you in terms of possible scholarships or even more training opportunities, more recognition and exposure? What happened?
A lot, a lot of good things happened after that. I'll definitely say that. I definitely, it was just, yeah, I think that race was broadcasted so well that it did gain a lot of attention and attraction. And for me, I think it showed, I think it showed that, there's this native runner who, needs some help and needs some resources to get to that next level of running at the Olympic level, at running at the Olympic trials. And so, after that, I did receive a lot of attention and resources to help me through my next two races to help, get me um, to this one race in New York and to another in California, the California International Marathon that I ran last year, both of those races to try and qualify for the trials. And so it was nice that people, saw the maybe not the capabilities I have, but saw the skill level I have and dedication that I'm willing to go to that next step, but the barrier for me is mainly resources. So it was nice that people reached out and people were able to help me. And yeah, it was just incredible that people were willing to help me to get to that next step and to represent not only myself as a native runner, but represent my communities as well, both the Navajo Nation and Hopi Nation. So it just meant a lot to me that people paid attention to what I was doing and, paid attention to my message as well, that anyone can do it and that, I didn't get here with, special talents at all. Like I wouldn't call myself a talented runner at all. A lot of times in races in high school and in college, I'd get sometimes almost close to last in a lot of races, but I didn't let that stop me. And so I hope that message that I tell others and motivate others with, that they keep going as well, regardless of what place they get into any race. But I want them to believe in themselves and to have these big goals as well. And so after this year, or I guess after last year, it made me realize just how close I am to my goal of qualifying for the trials, and to not give up and to, yeah, keep going and give it one more shot, because last year I wasn't able to qualify for the trials. So I have to look towards 2028 as
Mm-hmm.
um, the next trials to qualify for.
Were you with those other two races? Were you closer, or things to learn from when you ran the LA Marathon?
Yeah, so I definitely think I was a little bit further away. One of them I actually had to drop out of because I just got really bad cramps.
Mm.
And the other one I finished about 10 minutes slower than I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the marathon is no that race distance is no joke. Like you have to really be not only mentally prepared but physically prepared to handle 26 miles at a pace that's hard to hit for anyone. So yeah, unfortunately I didn't get to qualify last year, but I don't want that to stop me from trying again. And I know I can do it. I know that it's there. Um, and maybe for whatever reason last year, just the training wasn't right, or maybe the mileage wasn't right, or just, it was just hard for me to travel and get to these places on time, because, I think a lot of people forget that I'm still working a 40-hour work week typically,
Right.
and it's hard to get off time from work. And so, just mentally, I'm kind of always relying on my job as kind of the main source of income, rather you know, than just strictly running and being an athlete as being my main source of income. So with that said, it's just hard. It's hard. It's twice as hard to be competitive as, someone that works full time, opposed to someone that's just a fully professional, dedicated runner, and that's their main job or main source of income. Um, but regardless, I'm just so thankful for all the experiences I had last year, and it was nice um, to go out to the reservation, to the Navajo reservation and Hopi reservation, and do a lot of motivational speaking to a lot of elementary schools and high schools. So that was an amazing experience, and I hope to keep doing that moving forward.
Yeah. Also, I also saw that you're getting your PhD, correct? And you're hoping to
Yes.
get more people, young Native people, into the STEM fields. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, so that's my job at Northern Arizona University. I'm an evaluation associate, and I evaluate a lot of STEM education programs that try and increase retention and recruitment for Native students, first-gen students, and unrepresented minority students. So really, yeah, my main goal is to try and get more students, Native students in STEM, and be able to get them the resources they need to stay in school, or I guess the want to stay in school, and also just the resources that they need to continue moving forward from their undergraduate degree to their master's degree, and hopefully onto a PhD, because I think education now is really important, especially if you can come back to your community and use what you learned and apply that to, make the nation better, but also to, provide more jobs and opportunities too, because unfortunately, when you just graduate from high school and don't consider a bachelor's at all, there's studies to show that the impact that it has on your life, not only on your living expenses, but also just the number of opportunities you have are cut short. Opposed to if you went to school and got your bachelor's degree and master's degree, just more opportunities to open up for you. So that's kind of one thing that I always try and motivate others to do, other Native youth. And I'm just so lucky I'm at a position now at the university where I can make suggestions and recommendations that, will hopefully improve the institution as a whole and, increase Native student retention and recruitment.
Well, you certainly have the platform to get that message across. Hosava, thank you so much for being a guest on my podcast today. Any last tips on running faster? I think I read one thing is if you want to run fast, you got to run fast. Any other tips?
Yes, I would also say consistency is key. Even if you can't get out and do 10 miles or do what you actually wanted to do that day, as long as you're still getting out, and even if you just run for 20 minutes opposed to the 60 minutes you were supposed to run, that's what's really important. And that will keep you going for the next, year or 2 years or the next few months down the line, is just having that consistency and also just never giving up. I think that's also very important, just to always believe in yourself, realize your potential, and to keep moving forward, and to know that there's people out there that are willing to help, like myself. I'm always a resource to anyone out there. I'm always willing to help and support anyone in need.
Awesome. One more question. I've done marathons before. I think I've done like 5 of them in the past, and I'm doing one next month at the Mesa Marathon. Are you, like me, worried about joints in the future? Like, especially once we get older, I'm just curious, like, how do you take care of yourself?
Yeah, I stretch a lot. I
Hmm.
think that's one thing that's really helped with my longevity as being an athlete, because I've been running for a long time. I can't remember when I actually started running, but it's probably been over 10 years of consistent running. So stretching is key. I try and stretch at least 3 times a day, but if I can stretch at least once a day, that's good enough for me. But yeah, definitely stretching, making sure you're doing, some sort of cross training, whether that's biking, swimming, or just doing some, free weights. It definitely helps to balance out, other forms of exercise than just running. So those are kind of the 2 suggestions I would give to anyone.
Awesome. Well, I'm also a yoga instructor, so I get a lot of stretches in. So, always get to see another fellow Native runner and also someone who's super active in the community and helping Native youth know that they have a voice. Hosava, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you so much. Ahiya and Gokwe.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. And that's going to do it for this episode of Here Before, Here Now. Thank you so much for listening. I can't wait to share my next guest with you. I'll have more details on that coming up soon. Thank you.